During my years in this business, I've found that communication skills are often taken for granted. It's tempting to assume that everyone can express their thoughts and feelings effectively, but in reality, this is not true.
What would you like me to do?
Okay, Ross, why don't you go out and fill the rack with peanuts?
Fill it, really?
Yeah, you know, just do that now and then come back and see me again.
Okay.
In fact, many of the problems that we experience as a company can be traced to a failure to communicate.
Only put peanuts on this rack.
Well, I told you to put peanuts on this rack. I mean, you got all the exotics. Where did the exotics go that are supposed to be there?
People send out confusing signals. Messages are distorted, sometimes even ignored. People don't listen, and often there's no follow-up. Poor communication results in low productivity, conflicts between people, unhappy associates, and dissatisfied customers.
That's it. They never have what's on special.
There are a lot of reasons why communications fail. Most of the time, we can prevent these failures from happening. So let's take a look at communication and find out exactly what good communication consists of.
Well, communication is important because if you retain all the information yourself and don't share it with other people, then it's the same thing like delegating. I mean, you're keeping all this and you know all this, and something might go wrong, and it could be a case of, well, if you had just sat down for a minute and talked with your people and make them feel involved in what's going on, then I think it ends up in better results for your department.
There are two important types of communication that managers need to continually practice and refine. Verbal communications, such as one-on-one conversations and group meetings, are the most common. Written communications, such as bulletins, memos, and posted information, are also very crucial parts of the manager's daily operations.
The best produce manager I ever worked for was very positive, very energetic, communicated well with employees.
The difference between a good communicator and a bad communicator is not the actual communication itself, but rather what precedes and follows the communication. It's how well the produce manager prepared himself.
There's a frost in Florida. That means the green beans won't be as good and they'll be more expensive too. Well, I'd better plan on selling a little bit less of them. I'll order less and...
How well he listened for relevant input.
Hi.
Yeah. So what else do you think we can do about this bean situation?
Well, I thought maybe we could put the beans on the night pull list and put them in the cooler at night. That should do something to preserve the quality.
That's a really good idea. That's great.
Why don't we just stop selling them until the price goes down?
No, I don't think we can get away with that. There's still going to be some customers who are going to buy them regardless of how high the price is.
Yeah, I guess so. How about putting up a sign explaining the situation, maybe saying broccoli's a real good buy right now, so buy broccoli instead?
That's terrific. You know, that's a really great idea. As a matter of fact, I think... It's the setting he chose to communicate in. And it's the relationship the manager developed with a person or group before the communication. Good communication depends on what happens after the communication as well. It depends on how well the communicator solicits feedback, how well he listens, and most important, how well he follows up. Communication skills require concentration, practice, and constant improvement and refinement.
I think you have to learn it. I know myself, I used to be a very introvert type person, and I had to take courses to get out of that shell.
Going deeper into the technique of communication, we see communication as a 5-step process. The first step requires establishing the rapport necessary to set the stage for effective communication. People need to be receptive to communication before it can happen. People are better listeners when they feel they know and can trust the person communicating to them. This is best done by being the first to communicate on a personal level.
Actually, I know you're going to be hearing about this from the store manager later, but I just wanted to tell you myself. It looks like I'm going to be moving over to the newest store they just built across town, and you're going to be moving up into my position here as produce manager.
Great.
Yeah, well, I know you're really anxious to get started on it. There's just a couple more things I think we ought to go over, especially...
The next step requires that both the sender and the listener tune into each other and read where the other person is coming from. This is done by listening for feelings as well as facts, and by reading body posture and facial expression. The third step involves the use of simple and clear communications, expressed in language the listener can identify with.
See, when it comes down to rack layout, what you really have to do is to learn to respond more quickly to market changes, to the bulletins, and to price changes.
Avoid rambling. This only confuses the receiver. Eye contact should be maintained to reinforce the rapport. Also, remember that the listener will be looking for any body language or facial expression that contradicts what is being communicated. The fourth step is asking for feedback from the listener to determine if what was heard matches what was said. One way to accomplish this is to ask if there are any questions, or ask the listener to summarize the communication.
Okay, Len, let's just go over it one more time. Now, what are the essential parts of rack layout that you really have to concentrate on?
Well, I know I have to pay close attention to the bulletins.
When the listener responds, watch for body movement and facial expression that indicates inadequate communication or confusion. The process of communication is never complete without the fifth step, follow-up. To ensure that the message was properly received, the sender must follow up and make sure that the receiver is responding in an appropriate manner.
Okay, here's today's mail. Now, why don't you read it, tell me how you'd react to it, and what you think we should do about it, okay? I will do this every day for the next 2 weeks. I think it'll really help you out.
Okay, let's go through the 5 steps again. Step 1, establish rapport. Step 2, read from body language and facial expression how the person really feels about the communication, both negative responses and positive responses. Step 3, keep the communication clear and simple. The fourth step to effective communication is to ask the listener for feedback. Check their body language and their facial expression. Finally, step 5, make sure that what you communicated gets done. Follow up. Follow these 5 steps, and you'll find that your communications will truly be two-way, and they will be effective.
Hey, Ross, I was just down on the floor, and I noticed that now with strawberries going up in price because they're out of season, that you made the display a little bit smaller. That's really smart. I think you really got a handle on it now. That's exactly...